Welcome everybody to this week's bi-weekly community call. We hold these calls every other Tuesday at 8 a.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. UTC and talk about the future of risk sharing and everything new in the Nexus Mutual. This week, we have the UMA team with us on the call. They will talk about their proposal to implement oSnap for the Nexus Mutual DAO Treasury. And then Brave New DeFi will walk us through the recent reviews of the Tokenomics project. We looked at the redemption analysis, and he will also review the long-term state parameters with the RAM. And then he'll go over the roadmap for the next 2 quarters and also underline the budget request that we currently have active on the forum. And then we'll hear from Hugh with his weekly update from the foundation, look at the last week in review, and close the call after an open forum. Let's get things started with the UMA team. Bobby, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, sounds good. Glad to be here. So me and Alex, we're from UMA. UMA is what we term the decentralized truth machine, but today we're going to be focusing on oSnap. So oSnap pretty much, it just helps decentralize on-chain execution directly from your safe. So what we kind of wanted to do was, we heard this for Nexus Mutual. We know that you guys have an off-chain, you guys have 2 types of proposals, the Nexus Mutual DAO proposal and the MPIP. So adding oSnap is really tailored towards the Nexus Mutual DAO proposals, purely because that affects the community fund, and we thought we could help streamline that process. Because right now, when you guys approve a budget, a team budget, it could be like just paying out your different teams. Once you do a snapshot proposal, then the multi-sig signers have to then manually execute that after. What this does is, with oSnap, that will just automatically execute, so there won't be any need for the multi-sig signers to actually do that manual effort. And we know across DAOs that is takes a lot of coordination across different time zones and manual effort. So that will clean up that process. So Alex will probably dig a bit deeper into how that process actually works by setting up a proposal. But just to be clear, this oSnap, it only applies to the Nexus Mutual DAO proposals, aka the community fund, and will help streamline that process. So to actually add oSnap to your safe, it's very simple. It's literally a few clicks. So you're going to your snapshot space, and then at the bottom, there's a settings. And in advanced settings, you can kind of connect your safe to oSnap. And once that's done, it's 2 clicks and it's done. That's set up. So that would be an admin who controls your snapshot space that can do that quite easily. And then to be very clear, so that's the only change that you'll have to do. And then the current snapshot flow that you guys have for your Nexus Mutual DAO proposals will work the exact same. There's no difference there, except every time that you create an oSnap enabled snapshot proposal, you can now incorporate transaction data. So in your case, in Nexus DAO's case, that could be like sending token transfers. So it could be sending USDC or Nexus Mutual tokens to those who have requested it. Besides that, nothing really changes. And on the proposal, we walk through this process as well, and hopefully Alex will be able to do this live as well. But for every proposal that passes snapshot, so a snapshot vote, which is meeting quorum and having a majority of votes, that means over 50% of the votes, ideally 51% votes. Then after someone proposes a bond, which is 2F, and there's a challenge period of a couple of days, then the proposal is automatically executed, hence there being no multi-sig signers necessary. And to make this even easier for Nexus Mutual DAO, we actually have an UMA bot that also does the same for cattle swap across Connects and other DAOs. And this UMA bot will automatically post the bond for you and starts that challenge period so that no one from Nexus Mutual DAO will have to post that bond themselves. And then once the execution is also executed, the UMA bot also covers the gas cost for execution as well. So for Nexus Mutual, there is no fees to use oSnap. There's no fees to use oSnap or to execute any transaction as well. And it just streamlines the whole process. And then if there are any disputes, we also touch on that into the proposal themselves. And you can probably find a lot more detail there. But after 60 proposals using oSnap, there's only been 1 dispute, and that was less to do with the proposal itself and more to do with a Cloudflare related issue. But besides that, that kind of covers how oSnap will be tailored towards the Nexus Mutual snapshot space. And to make it more tailored towards Nexus Mutual, there are a couple of safeguards that could be incorporated into oSnap to make you guys feel a bit more comfortable. It honestly depends on how each DAO does it. I included an example of how CowSwap incorporated safeguards into their snapshot space, and I recommend checking that out. But what they did was, as a TLDR, they removed all administrators on the snapshot space, and they just kept only moderators to add or remove proposals. This meant it was creating a proposal was permissionless, and that's the way that they did that. Other DAOs, they keep their rules the exact same. But the two that we tailored for Nexus Mutual was enabling moderators on the snapshot space. So in this case, this could be the Nexus Mutual team leads. I know you guys have like 5-6 teams, and each of those team leads could be a moderator, and that would give them the ability to either add or remove a proposal. So like you can still keep creating a proposal a permissionless process, but like if there are any spam proposals, then like moderators can remove that. Then you also have the other mode, which is an offer only mode. So you could say, okay, only the Nexus Mutual team leads have the only ability to upload a proposal onto the snapshot space for Nexus Mutual. There are a few more examples, and we can add them on, but I thought those were the two that I felt the most tailored towards Nexus Mutual. If anyone has any questions or comments just on the proposal, feel free to like drop a message in the Nexus Mutual Discord, or even easier, just put a comment on the forum post as well, please.
I had one now if you're open to taking them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I think that'll make sense. I do like the fact that we don't have to coordinate the multi-sig signers to get stuff done. That's very helpful. So I guess one of the things that I'd like to know is like so basically when people vote, they should actually verify the transaction payload in the proposal. Is that I'm not quite sure how that looks, etc. So is that like able to be done by regular people, or is it quite technical and only dev type people would be able to do that verification?
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good question. So I'll share some examples in the forum post after as a comment, but we make the data very readable. So I think in Nexus Mutual's case, since it being like token transfers, that is like anyone can check that data. It would be like transfer 50,000 USDC to this address, and anyone should be able to check that themselves.
Cool, that sounds good. Yeah, I think that was one of the concerns, and I guess the other one was, which you've kind of addressed, was the the controls and stuff, and it seems like there's enough options there that we should be able to come up with something that works. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, and then I just had a quick one. I know on the oSnap site it says that Tenderly support will be implemented. I was just wondering what the status of that is.
That's still in progress. I will check internally for a timeline, but once I have an update, I'll let you know.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'll review in a bit more detail. I've reviewed info about oSnap, but I'll toss my thoughts on the forum and everything as well in the next day or so.
Hey everyone, my name is Alex. Apologies, I had some technical difficulties and was unable to do this demo during the community call. Bobby from our side was able to talk through oSnap and the value proposition. I just want to quickly include a short screen recording of just basically walking through a demo of what oSnap looks like in production, and I think it will highlight some of the small tweaks that will enable oSnap, but also I think it'll make more sense once you see it in an existing space. Before I do that, here is a proposal we thought would be an interesting one to use for oSnap. It basically, when this proposal was created, the creator could have included this, it'd been these transfers that would have been made from the safe that would have been executed as long as the snapshot proposal was valid. So we'll just jump over to this test space. If anyone who's created a proposal, this should look familiar. The only thing that is different is when you are choosing the voting type, you now have this option to make it a snapshot proposal or an oSnap proposal. And when you click this, you now have this ability to include transactions in the proposal. I do want to mention, it's very easy to not have non-oSnap proposals. It's just once you add oSnap, you just have the option of creating oSnap proposals. So it doesn't affect your existing governance flow in any way on a majority of your proposals. And this is just a quick transfer I put in here. It makes it really easy to do transfers. It'll actually import all the tokens from your safe. So for someone to create a transfer, they really just have to choose the token, the amount, and the address. And then there's also this option to import from Safe Transaction Builder if that's like the existing governance flow. And then, once this is published, I know someone on the community call asked about what those transactions look like in the proposal. So you have this new transactions container, and basically, that'll include all the specifics of the transaction that will be executed if the proposal passes. So it's really easy for people to visual, and especially since this proposal is really only pertaining to grants, and these will only be simple transfers. They are very easy to verify. It's also worth mentioning we have a verification program where 3 independent verifiers will come through and just check that the transaction matches the intent of the proposal. So for transfers, they'll look at, is this a malicious contract, or is this the actual token of the safe? It'll also make sure that the amounts are accurate and match what is being asked for in the proposal. So that's really the only changes in the flow. And then once this proposal ends, if the proposal meets the quorum, the voting period, and the majority vote yes, like Bobby mentioned in the call, these will be, we have a bot so the process is a bond is posted for up to ETH for 1 to 3 days, a challenge period. And so to not have to have the DAOs actually do this, we have a bot that will verify the criteria of the snapshot proposal. Here's an example in our Oracle UI, but basically it has in human readable plain text, the quorum, the voting period, the snapshot space URL. And this is the important one, like the unique identifier of that proposal. So it really makes it easy to automate not only posting the bond for the proposals, but also automatically disputing malicious proposals. And we also pay for the execution costs once those proposals have gone through that challenge period. So it really automates the full governance flow from being able to do on-chain execution. And the last thing I just want to mention is we have this really cool, interesting Dean dashboard that shows all of our existing integrations. Thanks.
We have Brave New DeFi, who will walk us through the tokenomics retrospective analysis. Brave, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to provide a quick overview of the goals for the Tokenomics Revamp project, talk about the results we saw during the exit period, and then provide some information about the long-term state parameters for the RAM. I'll talk about the project goals on the next slide. So looking through these goals, the first goal is to bring the price of WNXM and NXM together again so that we could remove the disparity between those two prices, between the open market and NXM as priced through the protocol. So after the tokenomics upgrade was completed and the RAM went live, we saw the price of WNXM and NXM converge upon each other once again, or very close to it, over the 1 month redemption period. And as of yesterday evening, the WNXM and NXM prices are within about 1% of each other at this time. So we have accomplished this goal because there's still liquidity flowing in, and we have the target liquidity in the RAM, which I'll talk about a little bit in more detail in further slides. But there's always going to be the ability to arbitrage those prices if they get too far out of loop. So The RAM is helping to eliminate the disparity between the open market price and NXM, so there's not an opportunity to have a big discount when buying cover, or issues with mispricing risk. The second goal was just to allow members to exit, which obviously we've been very successful in accomplishing. So this goal has definitely been accomplished, and we'll review this in more detail on the next slide. Capturing capital when members wish to provide it. This capability is there, but I imagine we'll need to see more growth in sales before we start seeing new capital flow in. But with this functionality, we can work on growing the mutual over time as well. And the fourth goal was to create positive value for long-term aligned members. This was definitely accomplished. During the exit period, NXM holders earned a little more than 5.4 million in value from the swaps in the RAM. So when members are redeeming their NXM for ETH in the RAM, the price at which they are willing to redeem NXM isn't always extremely close to book value. We did see some people that were willing to get out at about 95% of book value. So any differential between the redemption price in book value, that value is returned to members because the RAM essentially automates a buyback process that allows people to exit. But if the price that they're willing to exit at during that price discovery period is less than book value, then that value is accretive for members who choose to hold NXM over the longer term. So people that were able to exited at the prices they were comfortable exiting at, and this also led to value accrual for members as the redemptions, like I said, are essentially buybacks. Overall, the RAM has been successful in 3 out of 4 goals after being live for nearly 2 months. Over time, I imagine that we'll hit goal number 3 as well, but again, we'll need to see some more growth. But the performance to date matches the simulations the R&D team ran ahead of the tokenomics upgrade. Overall, I think the process has been very successful, and I've been really happy with the results myself. But on the next slide, I will go over the redemption figures and talk about that in a little bit more detail. Over the entire length of the exit period, which was a little over a month, we saw the velocity of redemption slow as we progressed further into December until the transition from the initial period to the long-term state parameters was complete, which happened on the 25th of December. So in the beginning of the redemption period, in the initial exit period, members who redeemed were willing to exit around 95% of book value, while those members who redeemed later in the initial period were willing to exit around 97 to 98% of book value. The difference here is people in the beginning wanted to get out at a certain price, and the way the ratchet works within the RAM is as people sell, the price will move down, and that ratchet speed will move that price back up. So more people were willing to exit at a slightly lower price, and as more people waited and the demand to exit lessened, they were able to wait until book value or the ratchet moved up to about 97 to 98% of book value. If you look at the redemption figures and you look at when people joined and how much they redeemed, we can see that short-term traders redeemed most of the NXM during this period. However, the largest number of redeemers were people who joined the mutual in 2020 during the height of DeFi summer. So the members who were trapped by the MCR lock were able to get out, and members interested in closing a short-term trade were able to exit as well. All of this led to that price convergence between WNXM and NXM over time as well. The few accounts that ran arbitrage bots helped peg the open market price back to the NXM price, while providing people on the open market with an option to exit their positions as well. Overall, the community's signal to provide 30% of the capital pool seemed to be the right amount to meet the demand to exit. And in total, we saw 266 members choose to redeem NXM for ETH, either in total or in parts. And to date, we've seen 2.2 million NXM redeemed for a little over 45,500 ETH. So you can see, a little bit more information about that if you go directly to the RAM contract. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to take me on Discord about this. Happy to provide any context. But on the next slide, I'll talk about the long-term state parameters. Between the months of August and October of 2023, the community discussed the various parameters on the Nexus Mutual Governance Forum for tokenomics and signaled their support for the initial state and long-term state parameters, which were subsequently approved by members when NMPIP 209 was passed. The RAM was launched with the initial state parameters that provided an initial budget of 43,835 ETH, of which a maximum of 1,500 ETH was added to the RAM pools every day to allow members to redeem NXM for ETH. When members redeemed NXM for ETH during the initial state, the price of NXM decreased, but moved up toward the ratchet at a speed of 50% of book value on a daily basis. The initial budget was completely redeemed as of the 25th of December, and at that time, the RAM transitioned from the initial state parameters to the long-term state parameters, which you can see on the screen. And this changed the maximum amount of ETH added to the RAM pools every day from 1,500 to 100 ETH, and the ratchet speed from 50% of book value to 4% of book value every day. So to be clear, that's the amount of new ETH, the liquidity injection. That's the amount of new ETH that's going into the pool. But to be very clear, the target liquidity for the RAM remains at 5,000 ETH, which it was during the initial state too. So if the amount of ETH between the two RAM pools drops below 5,000 ETH, then you can see in the current state, another 100 ETH will be injected over the course of a day to bring that back up to 5,000 ETH. If it drifts down, it can move back up. But overall, that's how it works. So for example, if members redeemed, say, 200 ETH worth of NXM in a given day, and you went down to 4,800 ETH between the two RAM pools, another 100 ETH would be injected into the pool each day until the pools reach that target liquidity of 5,000 ETH once again. So you can think of that as the equilibrium price. You can also check that directly on the RAM smart contract if you'd like, but there are plenty of Dune dashboards where you can see how much is being redeemed and see other analytics there as well. But as of this morning, there is 4,972.55 ETH in the RAM reserves. So not too far below the 5,000 ETH target liquidity. And over the next 24 hours, we'll see more liquidity be injected until that balance goes back to that 5,000 ETH target liquidity amount. But based on these settings, as members signaled during the parameter discussion period, the capital pool can be redeemed over a 3-year period if members choose to redeem NXM for ETH at a maximum speed. I know this was a lot to go over, so I just wanted to stop and ask if there are any questions before I move on. Okay. If not, I will move on to do a review of the Q1 and Q2 2024 roadmap on the next slide. All right, so every 6 months, we share an updated roadmap that outlines the foundation and DAO Teams' high-level objectives and each team's priorities that help the mutual meet those objectives. Looking at our core objectives here, the core objectives largely remain the same as the previous 6-month roadmap. Growth is still the top priority for all teams, and our focus will be on growing cover sales in the next 6 months now that stage 1 of the tokenomics upgrade is complete. We'll be focused on growing and building our community so we can scale the DAO and work with more members looking to help us realize these high-level objectives. While stage 1 of the tokenomics has been implemented, the R&D and engineering teams will need to conduct research to finalize stage 2 of the tokenomics revamp, which is focused on how the mutual manage capitalization levels when the capital pool approaches the cover-driven minimum capital requirement limits. And progressive decentralization is the final high-level objective. As we grow our community, evaluate how more members can get active within the DAO and how we can update governance to allow more people and specialists to get involved, we can continue down the path of decentralization. Now, let's look at each team that will be supporting these objectives, and we'll start on the next slide with the engineering team and their priorities for the next 6 months. So to help us drive growth, the engineering team will be updating the cover buy UI to improve the user experience in Q1, as well as implementing the cover edits feature so people can simply edit their existing cover NFT to renew or increase their coverage instead of needing to buy a whole new cover NFT. So these features will help reduce friction and should contribute to higher renewal rates and cover buys over time. In addition, the engineers are going to work to optimize the cover router and pursue gas optimizations throughout the different functions within the protocol to help reduce gas costs for members when they are participating within the mutual. The engineers are also going to launch a notification framework that will allow members to subscribe to notifications for when they join as members, to know when their KYC is complete, to get updates when their cover is close to expiring or when their staking pool deposit is close to expiring, and other things like that. You know, when a governance proposal is coming up for vote that they want to get notifications about, that notification service will help people stay engaged and stay updated as well. The engineers are also going to work on completing the technical work required to close the cover reinvestment and retrocession agreement, and this will significantly increase premiums flowing into the capital pool. They'll also work to support the addition of new cover products and work with the investment committee if new proposals to invest the capital pool float are pursued. The engineering team has a pretty full agenda for the next 6 months, but over the last 6 months, the engineers were able to develop, audit, and implement the tokenomics upgrade after members approved NMPIP 209 through an on-chain vote. That was the top priority over the last 6 months, and I think everyone's very happy to see that implemented. They also improved the mutual security measures and will continue to do so over the next 6 months. I'll move on to the next slide and talk about the BD team's priorities for the next 6 months. So the BD team will work with staking pool managers to develop and launch new cover products. There are currently cover products in development that would allow the mutual to expand into new market segments and grow cover sales and premiums. This also includes working with the engineering team to develop an MVP for new ETH/in cover products to further expand into that market segment. The BD team will also be conducting research into traditional risk markets to evaluate other deal structures similar to the cover deal, so the mutual can use on-chain capital to underwrite off-chain risks and grow cover sales and premiums. And of course, the BD team will continue to work and support existing staking pool managers within the Nexus Mutual ecosystem to help managers scale and sell more cover through work with managers like Sherlock, Uno, Re, and Ease, and distributors such as OpenCover. The mutual can create more open capacity and reach new users on L2s where gas costs are accessible for more retail users. In the last 6 months, the BD team secured the cover deal, closed the retail mutual deal, onboarded new staking pool managers, and scaled existing partnerships with teams like Liquid Collective. We've seen protocol cover sales decline in 2023 due to low yields, but as we see yields picking back up, we're seeing more inbound and a greater focus on new listings. And keep an eye out for new protocol cover listings and our listing spotlights on Twitter. Moving to the next slide, I'll talk a bit about the Foundation legal team. So the legal team has been working to finalize arrangements with members who have received claim payments from the mutual and also received reimbursement through either bankruptcy proceedings or direct reimbursement per their mandate in NMPIP 205. This includes pursuing reimbursements to the capital pool for FTX, BlockFi, Gemini, Holdenot, Euler, and any other applicable claims. So reimbursement is being pursued to ensure cover holders can't earn a profit at the expense of NXM stakers. As developments are made on reimbursement, we'll share updates, but so far the legal team has done some incredible work on this end. Legal also plays a major role in the cover deal and other deals like it, as well as in the development process for new cover products. Over the last 6 months, the legal team has pursued reimbursement, established legal infrastructure for the foundation, and evaluated and helped update cover wording documents to provide members with greater clarity on what protections are included, in addition to other initiatives. On the next slide, I'll go over the product and risk team priorities. Just as an FYI, the product and risk team is jointly managed by myself and Hugh, and we're supported by the legal team. Our work over the next 6 months will be in a support capacity when it comes to the cover deal, new cover product development, and new listings. We'll also support the account abstraction research project, which will involve the engineering and BD teams to evaluate how the mutual can use account abstraction in the future to improve the user experience in the Nexus Mutual UI. I'll also be working on a membership benefits program project to evaluate supplementary services which we can offer our members to improve the benefits of membership and support growth in new members. In the last 6 months, we've created the claims history database, worked with legal to create cover wording templates and guidelines, and expanded to managing the listing process for new protocol cover listings. There's been a significant amount of support provided to the new cover product development process, and we've provided support to other teams as needed as well. Moving on to talk about the R&D team. Of course, the major accomplishment for R&D in the last 6 months has been the management, communication, and the execution of the tokenomics upgrade project. But over the next 6 months, the R&D team will continue to work with the engineering team on stage 2 of the tokenomics project. R&D is also going to create an improved process for refreshing the cover-based MCR calculation parameter on a regular basis, which will include accounting for the various risks the mutual is now underwriting to ensure there's always enough capital to pay all claims. We'll also work to support the investment committee, as well as maintain the existing Dune dashboards that created in the last 6 months and in 2023. In the last 6 months, the R&D team has created the NXM staking Dune dashboard and the ratcheting AMM Dune dashboard, which has been hugely popular in the last several months. On the next slide, I'll talk about the community team priorities. In the next 6 months, our core goal is going to be to grow our community, increase engagement, and re-engage members who maybe haven't been as involved as they were in the past, and improve awareness about the Mutual through our social channels. We'll be updating the DAO website to include the Governance Hub, which will be a one-stop shop for everything you need to know to stay involved and get involved in the current governance proposals and votes. The Staking Pool Managers Hub, which will be a central repository for new and existing pool managers to track new listings, staking analytics, and for guides on how to launch and effectively manage a pool. We'll include on the DAO website information on the DAO teams, where we are in executing on our priorities, resources about staying safe in DeFi, and more. We really want to expand the DAO website to be a place where members can go and find all the resources they need to stay involved and to learn more about becoming active within the DAO. We're also going to launch an interview series on Discord and Twitter Spaces to talk with DeFi builders about risks in DeFi, what primitives we need to see to power mainstream adoption, and how people are building on top of the Nexus Mutual protocol in an effort to create greater awareness and build our community. I'll also be working to get the V2 contracts included on all the major portfolio aggregators such as Xerion, DBank, Zapper, and others. This will help us improve our discoverability and will just be a nice perk for members who like to review all of their portfolio holdings in one place. I'm a big fan of Xerion myself. The last 6 months have been quite busy as the community team played a pretty important role in educating people about the Tokenomics Revamp project and facilitating discussions on the forum about this as well. We've also overhauled our Discord server in the last 6 months to make it easier to find information and stay engaged. And we've worked to improve communication between the wider community and staking pool managers. This, of course, is an ongoing process, but we've seen more capacity requests and subsequent cover buys when we've connected requests for cover with managers who are able to open up capacity. Overall, it's been an incredibly eventful 6 months for all of the Foundation and DAO teams, but we're looking at another busy 6 months. I'm looking forward to growing cover sales and building our community in Q1 and Q2. So I'll move on and talk about the DAO Teams budget proposal RFC. This leads to the discussion about the current RFC that's on the governance forum. I know we've just reviewed the priorities for the next 6 months in the roadmap section, so I'll touch on the performance reviews for each team and take questions if anybody has them. So on the community team side, again, we're focused on driving engagement and growing our community through the priorities listed here. You can see more detail on the forum as well. In the last 6 months, we've seen an increase in engagement on the forum, while engagement on Discord has remained consistent. Engagement on the forum has seen a major boost throughout 2023 with some of the highest page view counts in our history. We've overhauled Discord and added the bot that allows members to query KPIs and see active cover, open capacity information, and more. We've also updated the documentation and updated the token model section and any sections that discuss the token model or the MCR. In the next 6 months, Sam and I will build on the foundation we created in Q3 and Q4 2023 to grow our community now that the token model has been updated and members can freely mint and redeem NXM again. Talking about the R&D team priorities, they're going to be focused on stage 2 of the tokenomics upgrade project, as I highlighted, and they're going to be revamping the MCR. They will also support the investment community over the next 6 months to invest more of the capital pool float and manage exposure to investment assets held in the capital pool. Q3 and Q4 were largely focused on and dedicated to the stage 1 of the tokenomics upgrade. Looking at the investment committee priorities, they will continue to evaluate investment opportunities for ETH staking. They'll provide recommendations on managing exposure to the investments that are held in the capital pool and continue to maintain the investment philosophy. The investment committee will also review and evaluate more DAO Treasury management proposals and discussions now that the tokenomics upgrade is complete. And in the last 6 months, the IC helped support investment of an additional 21,024 ETH into staking investments across Rocket Pool and Kiln. From those investments, we're earning more ETH for members every day, and that's accruing to the capital pool. Looking at the RFC budget breakdown and timelines, again, this is just an overview of the proposals. I encourage everyone to review and share their thoughts in the forum. before the request for comment transitions to a formal Nexus Mutual DAO proposal. The DAO teams are proposing a request for $153,500 for the next 6 months. The investment committee will be funded from their carried over surplus, and the team's discretionary budget will also be carried over from the last 6 months. The marketing team will request no new funding as we work to recruit another marketing lead for the DAO in light of our last marketing lead moving on in the fall. The previous funding for marketing is earmarked and held in the DAO team's multi-sig as outlined in the RFC. Kaylee, who's head of operations, is still on maternity leave, so no new funding will be requested for her role until she returns. The RFC will move to an NMDP on the 22nd of January, and it will move to an on-chain vote if there are no major comments or concerns. And that will move to an on-chain vote on the 30th of January, and that snapshot vote will close on the 5th of January. I'm happy to take any questions at this time, if anybody has them. Okay. If there are no questions, I would encourage you to review the proposal and share your thoughts on the forum. But at this point, I'm sure you're all sick of hearing me talk, so I will pass things over to Hugh to share his first Foundation update of 2024.
Thanks, Brave. Hey, everyone. Good to be back after a break over Christmas and New Year. So, yeah, and thanks, Brave, for that really comprehensive update. It kind of gives you an overview of what everyone's up to and what we've been doing recently. I'm not going to say too much new, but just to give you a bit of flavour on the specific items we're working on at the moment. So cover re-deal tends to be the major one that a lot of Foundation teams focused on at the moment. Two main streams, legal, making sure we do the proper due diligence and review all the legal documentation that we have to enter into. And that all seems to be going fine, but a little bit delayed where we would have liked to be, but we're working with Cover Re on that. And the other side is the technical implementation, and so there'll have to be a bit of a smart contract upgrade to actually execute the investment. So that's all going fine. Should be hitting audit next week. It's a pretty relatively simple change, but nonetheless a change that we have to make. So that's all going fine. We'll let you know if there are any obviously issues that pop up, or when we know a bit more when it's actually going to execute. The other thing is there's definitely the UI's been reviewed coming out. There's going to be a big update on the UI. I'm still working through quite a bunch on that. Got sidetracked with tokenomics late last year, etc. But it's progressing really well, and some of the stuff looks really good. So we're going to be doing some internal testing as a Foundation team over the coming weeks, and we'll be able to share more after that. Claims recoveries on FTX in particular, that seems to be progressing quite well. There's a lot of legal documentation, all that type of stuff that has to go by, and so things do take time. But we are expecting to get some meaningful funds back. We've already got about 260 or 70,000 back from a variety of things, mainly FTX, but one BlockFi claim. And so we are making the mutual is making some recoveries of these claims. So that's good to see. I guess the other thing to note is we're working with OpenCover quite deeply on some new products and stuff. So hopefully we're able to share more in the near future. But there's some good work coming out of that. And I think more generally, just as a wider comment, obviously news of ETF and that type of thing is quite positive for the crypto ecosystem in general. But we're starting to see yields come back in several places, and so that's kind of a core kind of requirement for our kind of main product, the protocol cover, to do well, because you kind of need that yield before people are willing to give up some of that yield to get additional safety or security. So that's a good sign, and we are seeing more inbound and more cover buys coming through. So the trend seems to be good, and I'm excited for 2024 and what the rest holds. But I think hopefully we're on a positive uptrend now with the wider ecosystem, and obviously Nexus is kind of a big part of that, and hopefully will help out the next wave of people to safely interact with the crypto ecosystem. So yeah, lots of lots of things going on, but in general, I think I'm feeling quite positive about 2024, and hopefully that continues over the next coming months, and we can deliver on some new products and get the cover volumes up. That's going to be our main focus: growth on cover volumes. So yeah, and happy to take any questions if you have them.
Thanks, Hugh and Brave, for the updates. If there are no questions to Hugh, let us continue with the weekly analysis. Like Hugh and Brave pointed out, as yields are slowly returning, we can see quite high cover sales in the past 4 weeks. This week, we have sold more than $2 million in cover, and the members earned more than $10,000 in fees. Our active cover amount is almost $33 million, and it has been on a roll for the past 4 weeks, as we saw constant growth. Looking at the cover sales, like you pointed out, we can see some figures that are generating more yields than before, and we have also seen the retail mutual renew their cover sales just before the New Year's Eve, so it has been all positive. If you want to learn more, look more in depth, please review the weekly analysis on the forum and ask any questions if you have them. For now, let us continue with Brave, who will walk us through the new cover listings on Nexus Mutual UI. Brave?
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, I just want to highlight too, on the forum every week, Sam posts these great recaps of cover sales. You can see all the cover sales for over the break, as well as the recent week there. So highly encourage you to check those out. We also tweet those out from the Nexus Mutual DAO accounts every Tuesday. I wanted to talk about some of the new listings that you'll see in the Nexus Mutual UI. In just the last week, we've added some more listings. If we move on to the next slide, we've added Compound V3, D-Hedge, Eigenlayer, GMX V2, Velodrome V2, and Yearn V3 in the UI. You'll notice the pricing for these protocols may be a bit higher, but that'll continue to decrease to the minimum price over the course of this week. And OpenCover will work to list many of these protocols, so members can buy cover on L2s to reduce gas costs as well. I think specifically for Compound V3, D-Hedge, GMX V2, Velodrome V2, and Yearn V3, all of which have high TVLs and L2s, and I know many users are active on L2s and other networks with a little bit more accessible gas costs. But look out for our protocol cover spotlights on Twitter, and we ask you to amplify those tweets, spread awareness about protecting crypto assets in DeFi. Through new listings, we're looking to expand protocol cover sales as yields are rising once again. If there are any listings that you would like to see in the Nexus Mutual UI, just go ahead and tag me in Discord in the purchasing cover or members lounge channels. I'm happy to do a review of any listings if there's a particular kind of cover that somebody wants to buy. We're going to be listing some more protocol cover products here in the next week. Once those are up and updated, I'll share an update on that as well. But yeah, if there are any questions about the new listings, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I can hand things back over to Sim to go through the open forum and close out the call.
Thanks again, Brave. Here's the opportunity for members to ask any open questions or raise any issues that we haven't touched upon during this call. And if there are no questions or issues raised, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Our next call will be on the 30th of January. Thanks again to Uma team and Bobby for joining us at this call. We really appreciate it. Have a great week and talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.